Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, Powered Up Talk with me, Azal. The reality is we have to work remotely, and through this platform I aim to power you up, and this week we'll be powering you up on working remotely using the Zoom interface. With me in studio I have, not in studio, I'm at home, in my bedroom, but I've got a virtual background. You can't tell. Why? Because I'm using Zoom. How awesome is that, right? So that is what we're going to be talking about, how we can work remotely using the Zoom interface. Enjoy and stay tuned. So with me today, I've got the Zoom evangelist, better known as Eric Jager, and he's going to be talking all things Zoom today. But Eric, can you just give us a brief introduction of who you are?
Hi, Zal. Thank you. We've been working with the Zoom product in country since 2014. We've been very fortunate to have started from a very early stage to have worked with companies with account numbers in Zoom as low as 180. And in that 6-year journey, we've been able to see how the product has evolved, and we've evolved with the product obviously as well, and seeing competition come and go and products adapt with it. But Zoom has become a cornerstone for most companies out there. Zoom is a video communication platform similar to what most people would know as Skype, commercial Skype, but they do have a strong business element as well. And that is something more compared to Teams or Google Hangouts or Meet, they call it now. So it's very similar to that, meaning it's the same feeling. And what makes Zoom quite unique is the fact that they've put a very nice user interface that from here, for instance, because I'm in a call that says return to a meeting, but over here we'll have a start meeting. I can join a meeting. I can also share screen. I can schedule from my application, or I can just join a legacy room system. This is where the corporate element of the Zoom comes as well. But the user interface also gives me like a nice UI that shows me the time and date, and it integrates my calendar. So it shows my invites that's there. So I go to that invite, I can just start it. It won't start now, obviously, because I'm already in another one. And then if I press that button, I go to all my meetings that I've got. I can see my physical meetings. This one I'm showing you now is the phone element. This is a future thing that's coming. It's a beta release that we've got. From here, I can basically make phone calls from here. That integrates with your headset, for instance. But I've also got all my contacts here as well, that I can contact my contacts, see their presence, they're in a video call, whatever the case would be. And then as well, I can still do chat, messages, send my team messages, group messages in.
To utilize it, and they're hosting, let's make it practical, a scenario of an educator. Now they've got a group of, how can they effectively use Zoom?
If, for instance, you were to you sign up for Zoom for the first time, and you start a call for the first time, out of the box, it's actually going to mute all the participants. Now, in the past, it never used to be like that. Because there's a button there that you can actually do that. So for instance, I have an option here where I can mute your microphone and I can unmute your microphone. Why? Because I'm the host of the session and I've got hosting rights. So I can see all my participants and I can mute them all and unmute them all, or do it individually as well. That already creates a little bit of a different etiquette. We have seen with a lot of people, especially in kids, when they start using Zoom for the first time, it's all of a sudden it's just overload of information. Everybody wants to speak. Everybody wants to bring their message across. When somebody like myself and you sit in a boardroom, we understand that we can't speak all at the same time. We have to respect that. So there's a bit of an etiquette that we understand, and it will work correctly. But yes, if there's a lot of people, it does tend to have a lot. So it's better to have that feature where you can mute all the microphones and unmute the microphones. If, for instance, you're somebody that's joining a session for the first time, you'll get an invite from somebody that's already got Zoom. And with that invite, there's a link right at the top that would have the password embedded of the session. And they would press that and they will go directly into the session itself as well. And they'll go directly in. And again, like I said, the host will be able to then manage those participants correctly. if, for instance, that user has never used Zoom before and now he's hosting his first one, there is some material which is going to be in the links of this YouTube channel. We'll put in the links for support.
Security has been a big concern for a lot of people. I know Zoom as a very secure platform. I've been using it for years and I've never had any problems with it. But because of what's happened and now it's become a problem, or even fake news has been spreading around that. What are some of the key features that Zoom has now implemented to make the platform more secure?
A lot of features that was already there that made the session secure, but my engagement with Zoom has been for the past 5 years. There's been features there for the past 5 years which we've never seen has been an issue. But yet, it had to take a major crisis like this for people to start using it in such a mainstream and then expose it to people that's going to take something positive and put a negative spin on it. So there was that risk factor of that. So what Zoom has done is they've just kind of refined what they're already doing as it stands. So for instance, like I mentioned to you, the mute, everybody enters the call on mute. There's a security feature inside the call itself as well, whereby if you hover over that security setting, you'll see that it says you can stop your participant renaming. I mean, imagine I rename my participant and I say, I am the president of South Africa. You understand? I mean, nobody would have thought of that in the past 5 years, but yet somebody thought of that during this crisis. And, that holds a misinformation process in that. So you as a host can block that. You can turn that off. You can also do stop.
Maybe you want to just show where you can do some of that quickly by sharing your screen.
Sure. As I'm sharing my screen, you can see that there's now a new section here that's called security. So if I press on that security option, I actually now can go and say, well, I can allow participants to screen share. No, I don't want them to do that. I can stop them from chatting. I can stop them from renaming themselves or annotate. Now you think this all seems, okay, these are features that's been there for the past 5 years. Why is this a concern? Well, Zoom bombing, what's happened is that was an individual that was acting outside of the company that had a Zoom session that wasn't complying with the company's security protocols or settings. And then what happened is she didn't have this option because people, what they were doing is she was allowing anybody to share their content. And yeah, you had people sharing pornography, you had people annotating over the session, writing racist slurs, for instance, renaming themselves, calling themselves the president of South Africa, for instance. And then also inside the chat, you want to stop maybe the chat because maybe somebody's putting in a link to a patch that's downloading maybe information on your laptop and stuff like that. So again, it is actually taking what was already there and just kind of refining it and bringing it right here, smack bang at the front of your control so that you can see it. And then best of all, you can remove participants from the session where you can see, okay, this person is acting inappropriately in a classroom. You can actually put them in a waiting room, for instance. And then you can still, as the host, send that individual messages as well. You can also go and you say lock meeting so that you know you've got all the relevant people. Yeah, so waiting room is a setting from a corporate or a company structure. You can force that setting upon all your users, whereby whoever enters the room is first going to go into a waiting session where you can see who's in the session and allow them. You can allow all of them in if you wanted to. If you've got thousands of people in your session, you can allow all of them in. But you can then also individually say, right, but again, what if you're in a session currently now and those people are waiting? You can send them private messages while they're in the waiting room. It's like just having a bit of a receptionist. The receptionist updating them while they're waiting in the reception.
Licenses, the basic, the pro, the enterprise, all of them. Okay.
Everything. And again, when we talk enterprise as an example, for instance, you want to have a company policy that you pushing them down, and you can lock those settings that users cannot edit that at all. Because again, Zoom bombing is something that happened because there was obviously, it wasn't being dictated how the product should be used. And that's why, I mean, from an enterprise level, that you can lock the settings. You cannot allow people to chat in chat groups or whatever, or share file share, whatever the case is as well. So these
Also,
are
from an enterprise point of view, so you're saying that it's safer for enterprises to rather have one person manage that account. And then if you've got if you've got an enterprise license, all the users have an enterprise license and one person is the administrator and manages that. So you don't have people having separate licenses.
Absolutely. I advise all IT or any Zoom account custodian, that would be the custodian of the account, to have all his users inside one single manageable portal, and he can see every single user there, and he dictates the policy downwards for them. It is absolutely crucial that you do not have any rogue users outside of your account. But again, from a commercial perspective, you know, if you're a grandma that's downloading it for the first time, as an example, you know, everything is going to come out of the box, is going to come up with all those settings. She herself is then the account custodian, and she can change those settings if she wanted to. But again, you know, from a commercial perspective, like I said, everything comes out of the box turned on anyway.
Okay, so now that we're on the topic of the different licensing, so Zoom has a basic license. They've got the Pro, the Business, the Enterprise, and they've also got the Webinar suite of products. Can you maybe just give a brief overview of the different license options?
Sure. So when we talk free licenses is something that if you go to Zoom's website, you sign up yourself, and you know, you just want to use it as a free place, you can do it. So if you have a one-on-one call like me and you are having, it's unlimited time. There's no cap to it. You can still do everything inside of that we would normally do from that.
So it doesn't have the 40-minute limit if you host it?
It doesn't have, no. One-on-one, there's no 40-minute cut whatsoever. But if, for instance, me and you are having a great chat for an hour, and all of a sudden we need to bring in a third party, that's when it becomes a group call. That's when you do need to require a license so that it doesn't cut off after 40 minutes. So you can bring in a third participant. After 40 minutes, it's going to cut the call off. So there's a limitation to that. Okay. What the One Pro license also gives you, if you were to go to One Pro license, is that you can do recording in cloud, whereby if it was a free user, it can only record on device. So that's a big difference between on-device record and cloud record, for instance. Significant differences as well is the reporting aspect of it as well. If you go to a Pro license, you get a more in-depth reporting system of, I'm in a call, these are my participants, when did they join the call, when did they leave the call, you know, so these are features that is like a register that you can get for the session as well. If you then move, for instance, to a business feature, business account, then all of a sudden it changes, because then you get a proper user interface with a dashboard. You can see how many calls were made, which countries were dialed. So you get a much more in-depth analysis. You can even see every single live call that's happening, and you can actually dive into every single participant. And you can dive into what every single participant's data is doing. You know, is it good? Is it bad? All that kind of stuff. And you can actually pinpoint and fault find exactly where there's mistakes. For instance, on a network connection, for instance, the Pro and the Business and the Enterprise in regards to capacity. So a free user can have 100 people in the call, but then the Pro user will then have also 100 people in the call, but a business will have 300, and Enterprise will go up to 500 people in the call. And there's other add-on features, you know, if you want to make it larger sessions as well. You asked about the webinar. Webinar is completely different from a meeting, because a webinar is we're having a meeting, we are engaging with each other. Webinars, you don't want to lose that momentum. It's more for classroom environment. I want to be the host. I'm bringing my message across. I've got a panelist that acts as a buffer to actually get all those questions that's coming from all the people. And they would then manage them, but I can still hold on my momentum, show my content, do annotation, and you can do voting, polling, quizzes, and you get a very nice attendancy register. Now, a lot of organizations in this current time have gone belly up because they do, like, they speakers, you know, and now they can't go to events anymore. What do? They now get a register of who attended and who was absentee. Two different marketing strategies. You know, I send out email to all these guys and email to all of these guys. So it's a whole different way, a digital way of bringing your message across.
another thing is a lot of people are working remotely. I'm doing this interview remotely and I'm sitting in my bedroom, and obviously I don't want everybody to see what my bedroom looks like now. So I've got this virtual background, right? So do you. So maybe you just touch on the virtual background and quickly. You're really
This
in
is my
Manhattan.
Manhattan
Okay,
apartment.
sorry guys, sorry, he's in Manhattan.
Virtual background is, if anybody's in a call and you just move your mouse around, there's going to be at the bottom left, you'll have this stop video. Over here, you see stop video and you've got this arrow. You press on the arrow, you just choose a virtual background. I can then go and choose a different background that I can have and share. Yeah, I can even have a video. I can even have, fish running in the background, for instance. I can even have my Wayne's World video running in the background as well. So it is and actually what I'm doing is I'm just sitting in the lounge, to be honest. So it's a very nice tool to like you said, you want to blur out that, don't want to be distracted, you want to be focused on the call itself as well. So it's a very nice, cool feature. And there's competitions that Zoom's running for the most creative virtual backgrounds, and people are coming up with some really, really great ideas as well. And a lot of downloads. A lot of people are making it freely available, some creative ideas.
What are your top 5 tips and tricks that you would give to first-time users on how to use Zoom?
So the first thing I would do is obviously is make sure that you put a password on every single meeting that you do. I think it's very important that you do that. And make sure that when you schedule a meeting that you mute participants upon entry. That's a feature that there as well. I think those are 2 very, very critical things for me as well. The third one is the waiting room as well. Out of the box, like I said, it does come now. A lot of older accounts, you've got to turn the waiting room on, but that's a very nice thing as well to have the waiting room as well. And then also when scheduling a meeting, I wouldn't push my PMI. Now PMI is a personal meeting ID. I would choose a random number every time, for instance. And yes, I think having the latest software, I think that's another thing as well. I always encourage people to go and see, are they running on the latest software? And if they are running on the latest software, they'll have that little security option I told you about. And with that, it enables me then to be a little bit more in control of the session as well.
How do users update the firmware? Is there maybe just quickly show how they can update the firmware to make sure that they are on the latest?
Press on your avatar, top right. You scroll all the way down to check for updates. And then it'll pop up there and it'll start running the updates as well for you. Keep in mind that if you're using the Outlook plugin, Zoom's also got an Outlook plugin. The next one that you schedule through the Outlook plugin will prompt you that it wants to do an automatic update as well. I would strongly advise to do that. Note that it does reset your PC, so make sure that you don't have any notes or anything running in the background to lose that. That's happened to me. But yes, I think running the latest software and making sure you see this little security option here at the bottom, very important to see that, and you're covered then basically.
Eric, in closing, any final remarks from you?
So, as I said, Zoom is safe. Zoom is secure. It's about, we're living in a time where we need to take each other's hands. We need to have a tool that allows us to do that. And Zoom is that tool. From a commercial level, from speaking to your grandma to her kids, reading a book, all the way up to your most important corporate meeting that is required. So yes, stay safe, stay clean after the lockdown.